What's going on, guys? I'm Lakota from Meyer Mediums, and this is vlog number 32 and the second vlog of 2021. According to my YouTube ads, I'm roughly 19.3% toxic poop. Hello and welcome to another episode of me rambling about things. Today's ramblings will include stale buns, thrifty tweakers, things that I learned from the pandemic, and I cannot wait to tell you the infuriating story about what happened to a chicken wrap that I ordered this morning. Let's begin. Now, the pandemic has been a terrible thing, but when terrible things happen, it's important to look at them as learning opportunities. For instance, I've learned that a healthy percentage of Midwesterners consider being asked to wear a mask an act of terrorism and will get borderline violent if asked to do so before entering your place of business. Sir, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to put a mask on before you come in here.
Degenerates like you belong on a cross.
Well, that is precious. We appreciate you putting on a face covering anyway. But more importantly, I learned a very valuable lesson while walking into my local Walmart. Now, before the pandemic, and even right at the beginning of the pandemic, I never thought to wipe down the handles of my carts. I didn't even know that Walmart had wipes for cart handles. I was just kind of ignorant to that fact. But let me tell you something. Once this thing is 10 years in our rear view, I'm still going to be wiping down my cart handles, and here's why. I pull into the Walmart parking lot and I get out of my car and I start walking towards the entrance, and I'm behind a portly fella and his wife, which is fine. Normally I'm a fast walker, but I was in no rush. I was just happy to be out of the house. This was right at the beginning of the COVID pandemic. As we were walking in the first set of double doors, this man, he gets an itch, and it's the type of itch that most people would go to the bathroom for, or at least give a cursory look around to make sure that nobody's watching. He reaches around and slides his meat hook right down the back of his jorts. His pants only, you ask? No, this man does not believe in any hand protection while he's on this type of conquest. He slides his hand down the back of his pants and the soft white cotton of his underoos and begins to dig. And he digs like a woman looking for lost keys in their purse, with vigor, working every muscle right up to the shoulder. That alone would be enough to upset anybody walking behind this person, but it was about to get much, much worse. As we pass the second set of sliding doors, he turns towards the carts and pulls his shiny, butt grease slicked hand out of his pants and grabs the cart. Like, you can see the beads of sweat on his hand. He takes the cart and just moseys on. I grabbed my own cart, and that's like all I could think about while I was shopping was what kind of atrocities my cart handle had been party to, and I started wiping my cart handles down. And you should too. Even after all of this icky sickness is behind us, you should probably wipe your cart handles down. And all that kind of leads into my next point, and that is that I find the general public is pretty atrocious to be around anyway. It sounds so terrible, but it's true. I love people, and I love individuals. I love small groups of people, but as a whole, we are wild, man. Just as a species, we're wacky. And if you really want to experience the darkest depths of human depravity on the daily, I suggest working in thrift retail. That's right, it's time for another segment of Tales from the Thrift! Most of you know that I work in thrift retail, and I have for quite some time. Now, a few months back, I was transferred to another store that was having some problems, and that store happens to be in a county that is considered to be the meth capital of Missouri, and at one time was considered by the DEA to be the meth capital of the US. Now, I'm a realist and tend to believe that things like that are blown way out of proportion, but just like when I thought to myself, St. Louis can't be that dangerous, turns out I was wrong. I would say on average, I have to deal with at least one person a day that is thwacked out of their mind on ice. Nothing serious usually. Usually things like I had me having to explain to somebody, I'm sorry, but I can't return these 15 pairs of shoes because there's only 7 items on your receipt and none of them are shoes. Or saying things like, excuse me, ma'am, could you please stop taking our VCRs apart? I wish I was joking. Those are real conversations that I have had with people. But a few nights ago, there was an interaction with a customer that got a bit intense. Now, before I continue on with the story, I want to say something. I was an addict, and I was an alcoholic, and I would never make fun of somebody who is trying to get better. I know it's hard, and most of the time whenever I see people like this, I find it more sad than anything. That being said, if you're high in public and acting a fool, I am going to clown on you, and you brought it on yourself. So the other day, this Charles Manson looking dude comes into the store, and he starts frantically putting stuff into his shopping cart, and that is typical behavior of somebody who's tweaking really hard. They come in and they just fill up a cart with stuff that they think they're going to buy. They never buy it. We always end up putting away everything once they leave the store. What happened is he got stuck. We call it getting stuck. That is whenever you are in a place high as a kite and you can't find your way out. You just keep getting obsessed and distracted by whatever it is that you're doing. Sometimes people will go around and start arranging shirts by their color. It gets ridiculous. This guy was focused on whatever was in his cart. He was really having a hard time getting away from that cart, and he would put things in it, take everything out, put it all back in, take it all out, put it back in. It was a mess. And he came in at midday, and he was there until we closed. So eventually, while the closing announcements are getting made, employees start coming up to him and saying, "Hey man, we're closing up. You need to go and check out." And he was just kind of babbling gibberish and going on. And eventually the store manager, which by the way, I was not there this night. I watched everything on camera. So anyway, our manager goes up and is like, "Hey man, we really need you to get to the front so you can buy this stuff." And he's like, all right. And he starts pushing it, and then something falls out of his cart, and one of the employees goes down and picks it up to put it in his cart, and he freaks out. And he's like, "Touching my stuff is like touching my children," which I pray he has exactly 0 children. This guy does not need kids. So they get onto the front of the store, and he's checking out, and he's freaking out because even he freaks out over the cashier touching his stuff. Even the manager is telling him, like, "You need to settle down or we're going to have to ask you to leave without purchasing any of this stuff." And surprisingly, the guy actually purchased everything, but he got outside and just continued to stare in the windows at the employees while they're trying to clean. And they were freaking out. Some of them were crying. They eventually had to call the cops and run him off. Normally, that would be wild enough for one story, but did it stop there? No, because this is thrift retail. Things can't stop until they're at the weirdest and wackiest point possible. 2 days later, one of our employees went to open the supply truck, and he made a discovery. So whenever you back a supply truck up to this dock bay, most dock bays have it, but it butts up to the hole, and around the hole there is like foam, the big industrial strength foam. The employee that opened the truck realized that there was a lot more sunlight coming in through the side than normal, and upon inspection realized that somebody had cut all the foam out of those pads and had been up inside of our truck, presumably to sleep. After we were told about the situation and on our way to go see for ourselves, we noticed Manson tweaker in our store, and we didn't think anything of it until we watched the cameras. And we noticed that this guy he had gone around the side of the building where the trucks were and just disappeared. So it was him. Now, normally I would just say these crazy blue-collar tweakers, but this guy had actually shown some pretty aggro tendencies before, and had he been discovered on the truck and somebody spooked him, it could have been bad. So we had to call the cops, and we actually had him taken away this time instead of being asked to leave. These are the things that people in customer service and retail have to deal with fairly regularly. So it makes it really easy for me to excuse bad service most of the time. So, you know, like if I go into the store and I ask an employee where something is, and they give, you know, they're not coming off like this big bubbly personality, and I can tell they really don't want to help, and I kind of like, meh, like it's whatever, man. They probably had a bad day, and I accept that. You know, if I'm at a restaurant and I have a server and they're not giving me the best service, they forget to get my drink and stuff, like I'm not going to stiff them because I know that they're working hard, and for mostly ungrateful people. I understand that. It just makes it a lot easier, especially having worked in these situations, to understand that we're humans. We make mistakes, and everybody needs love and grace and forgiveness. That being said, I have found my customer service pet peeve. I am not an angry man. It takes a lot to get me hot under the collar, but I have found the one thing that will get my blood pressure up to near stroke levels in a matter of seconds. It happened the other day. Me and my wife and kids, we were driving. We were heading out to a little hiking area, and on the way I was like, you know what? It is a beautiful day. The sun is shining. It's nice and warm, like one of the first warm days of spring. So we pull into DQ, pull up, I order ice creams, and I think to myself, you know what else sounds good? A small hamburger. I order the hamburger, the ice creams, pull around, get to the window in a timely fashion. The window worker is pleasant, receive my food, hand out the ice creams to everybody, and then I unwrap my burger. And would you know it? Stale bun. Stale bun! This is the thing that could turn me into a Karen. Had my wife not been there, I might have pulled back around and thrown my hamburger through the window, but I didn't. I played it cool. I went back. They gave me a new hamburger and it was fine, but this is why this upsets me. I believe that 98% of mistakes in the food industry are excusable. Handing out a stale bun is not one of them, and here's why. You have to touch the bun. You have to open it up and put food inside of it, so you feel it. You know it is stale and hard and inedible. All you have to do, it's not even like you have to recreate the bun. Like, you don't have to cook a new bun. You have to reach into a different bag and take out another bun. At max, a 3-second job. Look, all I'm saying is that if you're the kind of guy that can send out stale buns to people, you're probably the same kind of guy that will probably have their life end in a gas station shootout over a small bag of Xanax while you're wearing pajama pants and a Buck Cherry t-shirt. And that brings me to my chicken wrap. This didn't make me mad. I was just baffled. So this morning, I rushed out of the house, and on the way to work, it was like a 45-minute drive, I was famished. I go, the healthiest thing on the road to my work is Subway. So I pull in, I go in, and I order a chicken breast wrap. And the person that was worried, I just knew that like there was something off about them. Something. You just do your thing. You do your thing. I'm just going to order, and you make my food. We're going to be good. So I order the wrap, get the chicken breast, then they warm it up, put it on the wrap, put the veggies on top. And I said, yep, it's good. And they wrapped it. They wrapped it with the chicken going long ways. That means that they rolled the chicken over onto itself. That action was so idiotic and so psychotic that my brain actually said, that didn't happen. You saw that wrong. That was in your imagination. It's going to be fine whenever you go to eat it because you saw that wrong. And I took it and I just said, hey, thanks. And I left, and I got to work and I opened it up, and there's my vegetables on one side and my chicken rolled over on top of itself on the other. I had to rewrap the whole thing and eat it. And the whole time I was like, you can't be right and do that. Like, there's something inherently wrong with you in your head. And I'm not even saying that to be mean. I'm like, dude, like, you might need medication because no normal person does that to a chicken wrap. I'm still baffled. I thought about it all day, off and on, like, who does this? In conclusion, if you send out stale buns, you're weak. And if you wrap chicken wraps like this person does, you might need to up your medication. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it if you actually did that because it will help boost me up in the algorithm, which I'm going to need considering that I disappeared for like 4 months off of YouTube. Besides that, I love reading you guys' comments. Next week, we'll either be talking about video games or I'll be giving you a house tour of our new house, which, by the way, the inspection came back fantastic. Thank you, God. Thank you guys for praying for me. I really appreciate that, more than all the likes and comments you could throw my way. Anybody out there who prayed about that situation, thank you. Because it looks like we are going to be getting a new house now. Goodbye.